retribution, babe. I'll never return to the person I once knew. No, don't say you made no contribution, babe. I let you burn right through. My heart isn't fireproof. And if I focus for a moment on the day that we met and really pay attention to the words that you said, would I recognize the compromise would really only ever mean my sacrifice? If I wasn't so distracted by the shape of your lips, the curve of your smile, the sound of you listing all the ways you worship me, maybe I would figure out exactly where my walls, oh, where my walls came down, and my head was filled with your lies. I must admit, I wanted to believe in a perfect match, a fairy tale distracted from all your lies. Yeah, I guess I was blind till your true colors flashed. Now all I see are red flags. The things you used to love about me, now you say they're a weakness, and I told you I'd work on it. Now I've forgotten who I am. I let you burn me down, but I'm taking back my crown. Use me like I am a prop to paint a pretty picture of the person you're not. You can fool them and kid yourself. Can't wait to hear you blame this on my mental health. It's true, I was crazy for you, but you're not what I thought. You were just pretending. Yeah. Oh, I must admit, I wanted to believe in a perfect match. The fairy tale distracted me from all your lies. Yeah, I was blind till your true colors flashed. Now you got me seeing red. Oh, I admit, I've been holding on to promises that you won't keep unless I'm trying to leave. No, there's no happy ending here, and I'm done spending tears for all we had, 'cause now all I see are red flags. Yeah. I'm seeing red. Yeah, you got me seeing red. Yeah, I'm onto you. Oh, I must admit, I wanted to believe in a perfect match, a fairy tale distracted from
Good to see everyone. We will be going live in just a minute, just as soon as the song ends. Little Joliet 4 with Red Flags. May or may not have something to do with this stream, but we'll see. Hope everyone's having a good afternoon.
No, there's no happy ending here. I'm done spending tears for all we had, 'cause now all I see are red flags. I'm seeing red.
All right. I do believe I just heard a follow or something. Hold on. Good to see everyone. Good to see everyone. So yeah, first of all, welcome to the TTRPG Theater. I am your host, Rob, otherwise known as Phantom NJ. Graphic DM 13, thank you so much for the follow. Really appreciate it. Trollord Games, thank you for the raid. Let's get this. Trollord Games is a sponsor of this channel. We will have a giveaway. We have got a $10 digital coupon towards any digital product on the Trollord Games website. Exclamation point ticket to enter. And thank you for the follow, Summoner of Turnian. For those of you who are not aware, if you do have one of those digital coupons, you can either put it towards the straight up PDF of anything on their website, or if you choose if you're somebody who likes both the physical and PDF content, if you choose the PDF and physical content option, the coupon will work on that purchase. So that's there. There's your little pro tip. Good to see everyone. Good to see everyone. It is Thursday. Can you believe we are nearly at the end of May? I mean, holy crap! It is this year is flying right by. Winter does not seem to want to let go, though. I mean, it's one thing to be raining. I mean, spring showers and whatever. I don't know about May flowers. We've had more like May rain, but it's the cold temperatures. I keep having to turn the heat back on, which is annoying as hell. But with that said, let's talk about today's topic. So, I think I might have talked about this in the past. I'm not sure. It's been something that I've had it come up once or twice in various social media. 71 degrees with no rain. Oh my goodness. From your lips to whatever deity's ears that might be out there. Because I could use that here. We had nice temps and then it went down to 50. And actually hit 46 at one point. I suddenly realized it was around 60 degrees in the house. Dungeon Mr. Ty, good to see you, sir. Um, I'm waiting, and as soon as we know when the when New of Arden is going, arrive on my doorstep, we will figure out a time to get you on and have a discussion about it because I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, I was mentioning that for today's topic, the Forever DM, and it's got a weird mythology around it. Um, it's something that I hadn't heard about it, hadn't heard the term used in quite a while. And then suddenly I might have been in like 4 or 5 different social media chats and between threads and, an Instagram chat or two and, Discord all over the place. And the Forever DM keeps coming up. So let's talk about this a bit. Now, there was a time in the before times, and I'm sure those of you who are around my age and something 50 up something, remember the days before the internet. You may remember the days before dial-up, before local BBSs, when your TTRPG options were kind of slim. You had your TSR products, mostly AD&D or whatever the D&D version was out then, whether it was Moldvay or 796. You are already entered. Um, I can confirm that. Uh, and your options for actually playing with other people were also limited unless you were one of those lucky you had to dial a phone. Oh my goodness. Oh, the days. Yeah, 56K modem. I remember when 56K modem was first coming in, and then they had the split because you had the Hayes modems, which were Lucent Technologies, and you had the US Robotics, and it took 3 years for them to come up with a joint standard. So you had to look not only to see which ISPs had 56K modems, you had to have the ones that matched the one that you had. Yeah, it was a 56K or V90. Oh. I still remember my first modem was a 1200 baud internal modem. It's also how I started off. My geek career really got having to install that myself and make it work with a serial mouse. Oh man, that was back in the 1E days. So actually, no, that was just about the start of my 2E days. Because that was that was when we had hit college. But I mean, before before the BBS days, your options were slim. You either happened to know kids in town or at your school or whatever, or you were able to convince your friends to try D&D or maybe Gamma World or Boot Hill or whatever. I don't. I know that there were other TTRPGs out. I'll be honest with you. I was so much up until high school, I was so very much a AD&D guy. I could, other than basic D&D, as opposed to advanced, I couldn't have told you, and any other TSR product that was advertised, I really couldn't have told you what was out there. But again, your options were limited unless you were one of those lucky people who happened to live somewhere in the Lake Geneva area, or somewhere else where they would hold a convention every once in a while. So, before those days, I remember when Twilight 2000 came out. I was I was so upset I never found somebody willing to play Twilight 2000 with me. Because that was back then. That was right up my alley. And here's the thing, back then you might have had a small group of friends who wanted to play, um, and there was a good chance that one person, and it might have been you, were the DM by default, and you ended up kind of being the forever DM, because you had no other options. If you weren't the DM, nobody else was. And it was kind of interesting. I remember when dial up started becoming a thing. You ended up, you might meet other people, and God forbid they found out that you were willing to DM. You suddenly became the forever DM again, because they would rather play, and you ended up with the DM title, by default. This was me through my childhood. This was me through my high school years. I had a very close, small circle of friends in high school, because I went to a regional high school. We did not live near each other, so we would get together for a weekend of gaming. And I think in the 4 years that we were all together, I don't know that any of them DM'd more than once each in those 4 years. It was me like all the time. I think one had a module that one of the adventures that they had seen, and they were, it got to the point where it was like, all right, if you really want to play this that badly, you've got to run it. But for all intents and purposes, I was the forever DM. College changed that a bit. I finally met two other people who were willing to DM. So, college was like the first time I really got any playtime whatsoever. And while I was primarily a DM, I wasn't only a DM, and it was good. And then as the years went on, and especially in the last 5 years, I've done so much playing, so much playing. Uh, and I do not regret a moment of it. I've gotten a chance to play, lots of different games that I didn't one some of them I didn't even know existed. I mean, I'm pretty good at I was pretty good at keeping track of all the various TTRPGs that are coming out, but there were games that I had never heard of that, I've had the chance to play because someone else was willing to take a chance on buying them, and offering me a chance to play. Um, it so it's been really, really cool the last 4 or 5 years. Um, Even though I primarily see myself as a DM, getting to play these games. Now, what's weird is, despite the internet being a thing, despite having gone through that full year of complete lockdown, despite the ease of getting together online with people to play games, there seem to be a number of people who have decided to take on the Forever DM title as like a badge of honor. And when I say Forever DM, like it's not the I'm mostly a DM. There's nothing wrong there. Let me be very, very clear on this. If you're primarily a DM and that's what you enjoy doing, that's great. Um, I've seen weird things though where people have decided that they are they're going to do the Forever DM thing as a badge of honor, where that is all they plan on doing. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that is a terrible idea. There is, you know, Summer, I'm pretty sure you are already included in the uh giveaway. Let me verify. Yes, you are. We currently have 5 people signed up for the giveaway. So again, $10 digital coupon to for towards any digital product off the Troller Games website. Um, and so like I said, I think the idea of being a forever DM and just foregoing playing and that's all you're going to do, um, it's a bad idea. It really is. Um, you know, the things I've learned over the years. Yeah, I'm sure. Overcord, I agree. There are people that definitely lean towards DMing more naturally. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you've got a regular group who you've been DMing for all these years, that's even, hey, listen, I envy you because I have not had that. The closest I've had was some of my fraternity brothers, and even then we went long patches of time, and we're currently at another break where we haven't played, where we haven't had a game together in years. But they're easily the longest group of people that, in terms of playing together, that I've known. Um, but here's the problem. Um, if you cut yourself off from playing and you just decide that that's all you're going to do, it is going to be hard for you to grow as a game master. Um, that's not to say you won't have some growth, because I mean you'll end up learning a bit about yourself. You'll end up learning, you know, what's working, assuming that you're putting the time in and you're leaving time for self reflection. Hey, Kern, good to see you. You're going to get some growth out of that. You'll figure out a bit what works for you. You know, and again, this really is highly dependent on the person running the games taking the time to reflect on their performance, reflect on how a session goes, and reflect on how their players reacted to the things that they were doing. Um, what you're losing though is, even though you can check in with your players, um, I I can honestly say that the last few years I've learned more about what I want to do as a DM and what works for me, um, while playing in other people's games, than I did in the 35 years prior. Um, it took me a while to understand, not just the things that I don't like, but what was it I didn't like. What is it about railroad style games that I don't like? How do I mitigate that? How do I adjust that in terms of when it's something like a pre-printed module? I don't run much published stuff these days. Sometimes I'll use an adventure for filler, but I tend to do my own stuff, and I'll use the various adventures that are out there as inspiration, and maybe go through some of them, depending on the group, if especially a group that has a definite interest. But I try to do most of my stuff as both sandbox in nature, as well as homebrew. Um, but if I wasn't willing to go and take the time and play in other people's games, I don't know that I would have recognized the things that things that I was doing that wouldn't have worked for me. My rule as a DM is, be the DM that you would want to play, or your GM or whatever. Be the game master that you would want to play for. Um, if you look and you realize, if you're playing in other people's games and you're recognizing that there are things that aren't working for you, and then you realize that these are things that you're actually doing as a GM yourself, well, so it's a good way to realize that you need to adjust. because if it's not working for you, it's probably not working for some of your players, whether or not they say anything. And where players are concerned, these days players have more choices. There's obviously, especially if they're hooked into the kind of communities that I'm hooked into, and I'm sure most of you. I mean, you're coming over from the Troll Lord site. Most of you are in these kind of communities as well, where there are other options out there. There are other GMs who might fit your style. Um, so it's a good way to make sure that you're running the type of game that you'd want to play in, because the other part of that is when you will find the players who best fit your table. Not every player is going to fit your table. Not every player is going to, not every player is going to fit your style of game. Uh, some of them it may be just dependent on whatever game you're running at the moment. Because if you're GM like I am, who's willing to run different rule sets and different things, or different genres or whatever the case may be, a person may be right for one type of game that I'm running, but not for another. Uh, but these are the things that you realize more when you've been on the other side. When you've been on the other side of the table, you appreciate more what you need to see in order to understand, is this table for you? And I like I said, I feel, I mean, I honestly feel for those people who are still the forever DM, because probably because running games online doesn't work for them. I, I get it. Not, it, for some, it's not as fun. I take a different, I enjoy both. I take different levels of enjoyment, or different types of enjoyment, from both online and in person. But if you're not comfortable running a game online, your choices may be much more limited, and you may still be, despite all that's available these days, you still may be in that boat where if you are not running the game, there is no game. And I definitely feel for you. But if you have the option to run it, and I'm not saying you have to do 50-50. I'm not even saying you have to do 75-25. But take the time every once in a while. Play in a one shot. You don't even have to do a campaign. Play in one shots. Play in one shots wherever and whenever you can. Play with different DMs. Try different rule sets. Try all the different things. Yeah, I mean, Jay, even you got the occasionally Tim DMing. Um, but you're also, I mean, you're also a very, very, very rare bird, that you've had the same group of players for, between what, 30 and 40 years now. Um, so, it's great that you still have Tim, and you have other people willing to run games. I mean, let's put it this way. Is there anyone who wouldn't run a game for you? To be honest, I don't know if there's anyone in the community who wouldn't love to have you at their table, even if they do try to torture you with 5e. Uh, and hey, tea time with Taryn. Good to see you, Taryn. Hope all is going well. Um, it's take that time, play those games, try the different games, try games that are not necessarily your normal game. Like if you're a 5e person, there's nothing wrong with being a 5e DM. There's nothing wrong with being a 5e player. It's not for me anymore. I ran 5e for years. I'll still play 5e. I'll play 5e in one shots happily, because I've got a number of DMs whose style I've come to trust, and I know they fit the kind of game that I like to play. It's it's just not me, for me personally. I These days I tend to gravitate more towards a lighter rule set. Not necessarily pure rules light, though I do love those. But I do these days prefer more stripped down game. Uh, Mostly because I'm one of those people, I like combat, but I like combat to be quick. And one of the struggles I have with 5e and even Pathfinder 2e, which I actually enjoy more, is that combat is many things. Quick is not one of them. But again, that's I mean that's a personal preference. It's not to say that the games are bad. The games are good. It's what you enjoy. I am not going to yuck someone's yum. It's as simple as that. Let me see. Let's get to the chat. So and I've been very bad because it's been scrolling by and there's been some good stuff here. So going back a bit, Overcord. I also run mainly homebrew with ideas from old dungeon magazines, etc. Dropped in. But I'm about to go out on a limb and run Curse of Strahd, but in Pathfinder. Ooh, interesting. All right. Uh, Not competing for players, just running a steady game. But hey, listen, if you've got a regular game every week, my hat, that's awesome. There are a few things more better than a regular game, and I'm going to get to that in a moment because we, as we always do, we're going to talk about Friday Night Crusades here. Mix of pacing and RP between sessions. Ooh, that's that. Hey, listen, if you can find a group that's willing to do that as well, even better. I love that idea. As a player, it's a little overwhelming for me these days. Your brain goes in squirrel mode, and suddenly I realize that I'm the one person who hasn't done anything in between sessions. So, my hats off to you and your players if you're having success with that. That's awesome. Scannion, having equated forever DMing to flagellation. I had a friend that was the consummate DM since the 1970s. He had dozens of ring binders and spiral notebooks of detailed by 1990. Mind you, he was a history major, which made his game even better and more rich in content. All the kingdoms on his map had solid. I mean, listen, I'm a history loving major. I mean, the old thing about how often are you thinking about the Roman Empire? I am that guy. I have taken several trips, a couple of trips to Rome. I will happily go back because I will just lose myself in the history. It's historical stuff is great. And listen, again, if that's what you enjoy doing, that's great. But I still encourage even players like that, DMs like that, take some time, try something else. Not saying to give up your DMing, just have an off night where you're playing something different. Great Rage. I was a player in a 7-year campaign until our DM started to get burnt out, so we rotated players as DMs. Out of the 7 of us, everyone loved my DM style. I like to narrate as DM, to implant the same into the imagination of my players. After I graduated high school and went into the military for 10 years, I came back to D&D 5 years after 5e came out. I just lost my ability to find the words to narrate and spark the imagination of players, so I'm back to player status. I still DM Dark Heresy 41K. And Ty, you are absolutely correct that we need to recruit and encourage more longtime players to take up the GM challenge. Absolutely. Greg, I hope you find that inspiration. One of the things I've struggled with lately is I was, for the longest time, I was a theater of the mind person. It's kind of sort of like the forever DM thing. It wasn't by choice. Growing up, I was buying my books with money from my paper route. So I had a choice. And I also started collecting comic books at the same time. So I could either buy the books and my comics, or I could buy the books and stuff like miniatures and Dragon magazines. And I have a few Dragon magazines in print, but it was not something I could seriously do all the time. Yeah, I would theater of the mind. Oh my goodness! I mean, the days of you didn't have you're talking about drawing the map as we go. Exactly, it was draw the map as you go. We felt we felt like we were the rich kids when we had actual graph paper because we were drawing maps. We were basically drawing grids on loose leaf paper in order to draw the maps. Sitting there with a ruler, running lines across to make a or better yet, on construction paper. We'd get construction paper um, or printer paper. Was actually, printer paper didn't really work well back then because that was the dot matrix days, and that stuff was too expensive to use. But maybe construction paper. But if we had to, we would just use loose leaf paper. Um, and draw our maps as we went along, and that was the end of it. And we still, we'd have like little things to point where people were on, maybe a little darker circle to put where things were on a map. But yeah, it's now, you know, I want to get back, and I've been trying to get back. I'll never go back to being fully theater of the mind. One of the things I've learned, and again, it's one of those things where you need to talk to your players. Even if you're a forever DM, or if you're or as a player, or some talk to your players, because theater of the mind does not work for everyone. And the reason it doesn't work for everyone is there are people. My ex girlfriend was one of them who could not. She might be able to visualize where things were as as they were initially described, but as soon as combat began, that whole thing went away and was not able to keep that whole thing in mind. So every combat was a question of I would need to make sure that I was keeping track of where everything was, because nobody, a lot of people weren't able to do that, and it creates a lot of work. And there's so many simple tools that you can use. You don't need a full blown virtual tabletop in order to do some just standard putting stuff where they are. Overcord. I get players to GMDM one shots about 4 times a year in our long running campaign. It's always a lot of fun. I think it helps some of them to break the jamming ice and playing with people. Absolutely. Um, I think the big thing with a lot of people with GMing for the first time is it's fear. Nobody wants to look stupid, and we've talked about this in the past. The first thing to realize about jamming is you do not need to know all the rules. I, I've been I've been playing TTRPGs for 40 something years, various editions of D&D, and maybe with the exception of first edition back in the day, and maybe CNC now, because because of the way CNC is set up, I can't say that I've known even 70% of the rules at any given time. AD&D had a ridiculous number of things that especially when you're talking about combat. If you were playing AD&D first edition rules as written, oh boy, combat was a lot, because you had tables upon tables upon tables of keeping track of what could hit what AC, how fast weapon speeds were going, how things worked in an initiative round, casting times. I mean, full on AD&D first edition combat. What it was, it was the kind of thing that only a kid who was really, really, really good with math could truly love, to go implement everything. And even then, we got to a point where we just said, "This is silly," and we just started cutting stuff out. Yeah, that was the point where it was like, yeah, this is just silly. Jeff, hey man, I'm glad I was able to catch the stream. It was a lot of fun. Always good to see some Shadow Dark being played. When you started, Greg, when you started DMing AD&D Second Edition, never read the DMG. I get it, man. I get it. Um, it's just, oh man, there's just a lot. It's like, um, let's see, Overcord. That's how I started too, and I think it's one of the big differences between online and a table. There's an element of giving visual things more weight in an online game. Still lots of fun, just different. Around a table, roll a paper and a crown. Oh yeah, that works. That's all. That's all. Somebody need. I mean, basically, I'm. It seems silly, but now I would just bring a whiteboard. If I was playing around a table at a and I didn't have like money to blow on um miniatures and terrain and so on. Roger, thank you so much for the subscription. 41 months in a row. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Um, Justinius, good to see you, Greg. Glad you could be here. I would bring a whiteboard. Think about it. All you need if you want to do mostly theater of the mind, but still be able to mark where stuff was, so that everyone at the table could easily see it. Whiteboard right next to the DM, so that they could just draw. Okay, here's where this is. This is where this is. Everybody on the map. Good. Let's go. Quick erase. Right down the next spot. Um, but yeah, theater of the mind. Now here's the thing. Talking about I don't do purely theater of the mind anymore. I do find that lately it's been a struggle, and mostly it's part of it is because I don't like the sound of my own voice. So going back and listening to myself and trying to get through a stream and make notes for myself is a little difficult. But I feel like I'm always using the same descriptions for stuff, and I'm trying to break myself of that because I know I have a large vocabulary, and I forget to use it, and sometimes in the middle words get stuck in your head, and you know that there's other ways to describe something, but when you've gotten you've found one that like works for you, and then suddenly it's there and it becomes the easy way out all the time. Take a cue from the old modules, Scott Chef. Take a cue from those old modules that those handy illustrated handouts of monsters, what the player sees. See, I get it. I forgot, actually. I forgot who I played with just recently. It might have been while I was in Pennsylvania at Ultra Magnus from the TLG Discord had a little get together the weekend before last at his house, and we played some Castle and Crusades. We played some Dungeon Crawl Classics. It was my first time playing DCC. Uh, that was a hell of a lot of fun. I enjoyed the heck out of it. Um, it was every bit as bonkers as people told me that it was. So that was really cool. But I think it might have been when we were playing DCC. They were just showing us what it looked. Oh no, because DCC we had figures on. We actually had terrain and stuff for that. I forgot. I think one of the sections we were getting pictures of what we were seeing. Otherwise, I can't remember where it was from. Um, I know. Actually, I know one of my friends who runs Pathfinder 2e, and I play on a Pathfinder 2e stream. Though the campaign has since concluded, used to do the pictures from the thing and show them on the screen, because a lot of the Pathfinder 2e creatures are different than anything you've seen. I try not to do that. I might do it if I didn't feel like I was describing it well. But I want to give that description myself, because I want it to be more than just something they see. I want it to be a description that they can feel. And it's something that I've learned playing with, again, as a player, playing in games. Um, I was lucky enough at GaryCon to get my first Vampire the Masquerade experience. First time playing that game after many years of having people talk about it and this and that and all over the place. Extremely popular. For those of you who know B. Dave Walters, he was my the storyteller, or whatever I think the storyteller is what they use for the GM for Vampire. He was the storyteller for that game, and when I tell you that way of describing it. So you felt the characters, and not only that, you found yourself describing yourself, what your character is doing, and in such a way that other people could feel it. You want the players to be able to have an almost visceral reaction to the character. And visceral, it doesn't mean that they're disgusted by it. You want them to feel some way at this character. You want to bring that to life. And as much as I get the idea of seeing it on, seeing a picture of it, so that you can, see it in your mind's eye, it does not carry the same reaction for me anyway, as to hear somebody, describe the oversized head, the long nose, or the having an overbite, an underbite, whatever the case may be. The way the flesh hangs from it, or the skin hangs from it. Yeah, B Dave, he's fantastic. He's one of the first people that I followed, or watch a game that he was in online. One of the first actual plays. This was back when D&D Beyond was not yet a Hasbro WotC product, before they were bought. Way back, honestly, in the beginning. They sponsored a stream called Heroes of the Realm, and it was fantastic. A great group of players. He just happened to be one of them, and I've been a fan ever since. And so it was great to meet him in person and play in a game run by him. I feel sorry for whoever runs Vampire for me next, because never mind the fact that B Dave is like 6'7", 6'8", or something like that. The man is very, very tall. They literally have big shoes to fill. Literally and figuratively, to be honest. But yeah, I want my players to have that visceral reaction. So I try to describe, and I'm trying to use the words. And the stupid thing is, I have the tools to do it. I have the Troller Games, again, makers of fine products, including Castle and Crusades and Amazing Adventures. They also sell the Storyteller's Dictionary and the Storyteller's Thesaurus, which I own. I do recommend them, and I need to start making better use of them so that I can find those different words, and maybe jot a couple of things down ahead of time, so that I'm making sure that I'm using the different words. It can be a little tricky for me, because I do a very sandbox game, and I'm not always sure what my players are going to want to do next, or where they're going to go. But yeah, I'd love to get back to feeling like I'm doing justice to the creatures or the situations that I'm describing, doing justice to the terrain that the players find themselves in. And here's the other thing, even if I'm using a VTT, or if I'm using physical terrain, don't get me wrong. If I ever get to chance to run games where I'm using full on physical terrain completely for the game, I obviously want them to be wowed by the terrain, but I don't want that to be the only description that they get. I still want them to get that description from me, because terrain, even the best of terrain, is still a static thing. It's there. It looks if it's done well. Anyone who watches Jay's games know what good terrain looks like, because Bill the Master Crafter does some gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous work with terrain, both printed and stuff that he put together himself. But my game is a little different in that there's more. There's a story. I don't want to. It's different in the way the story is done. That's all. It's a different. It's a different variety. Different style of game. And I love playing in Jay's games. And while we're doing that, let's do this. Speaking of Jay's games, And speaking of loving to play them, I will be playing with Jay this coming Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Uh, I'm going to get to play my new partially leveled dwarf fighter thief, Durgrim Flintblade. He is now a level 7 fighter, level 9 thief. And anyone who knows this cast of characters that is already on the screen knows that this is going to be a wacky, fun time. So please join us on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's gonna be so much fun. You get to see some absolutely fantastic terrain. Jay always runs a great game. It is first edition / second edition / 40 years of house and homebrew rules that Jay has content that Jay has added to the game. So join us, and I promise 3 dwarf. Will Skarn's girlfriend be making an appearance, or is Mike playing a different dwarf? Uh, this should be interesting. I did not get to put an advertisement together for no Arabelle. Aw, Arabella. Durgrim is so upset. Not. Oh man. That woman is going to get us in heaps of trouble. Always does. So yeah, actually, and I have a shout out too for those of you who aren't already following. Then on Sunday, and I've been trying to scratch together an additional player, so I have not yet put together an advertisement for it, and I need to. Sunday at 10 a.m. on my own channel. The Righteous Hands, or at least some of them, you've been seeing them in the advertisement, will be going off in a new adventure. That will be again Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. I will try to get some more ads out for that. So, with that, I did mention that there is a call to action portion of this, and there's 2 parts to it. One, you might have seen talk on the TLG streams, especially Grace, talking about the Summer of Siege, and I decided for Summer of Siege, I want to do Amazing Adventures. I'm already running Castle and Crusades for my personal campaign. But I think Amazing Adventures needs some more FaceTime, some more time in the as far as being highlighted. And I plan on running one of the published adventures. Might strip it down a little depending on how long it needs to go. It's possible it's more than one session. So I'm looking for people who are interested in playing Amazing Adventures. I am also looking for, and these would be stream sessions. I'm thinking obviously it's going to be at least one. It may be as many as 2 or 3, depending on how much work it takes to, get this done in an appropriate amount of time. I'm looking for players who'd be interested in doing that. I'm also interested in looking for players who are interested in joining my Embers of Empire campaign, because scheduling, despite my best of intentions, has become a problem. I decided not to do one regular group for Embers of Empire because I know how hard it is to keep a group together, and I didn't want the campaign to come to a crashing halt once scheduling became an issue, and didn't want to have to keep bouncing players in and out of the group. So I had decided at the start that I was going to make it a periodic game where I would bring the groups back. I had 3 different groups, and 2 of them already have had difficulty getting one of them's had difficulty getting a third thing together. The other one just getting a second second session together. Meanwhile, my primary group has had scheduling issues of their own where of the of the 6 players, I think I've got 4 for this Sunday. So yeah, I want to throw more groups together. If you are interested, there are multiple ways to contact me. I wouldn't do it through Twitch. I would either do it through Discord, and there's my Discord server if you're interested. You can send me a private message. Just let me know if I don't know if your Twitch name is different from your Discord name. Just let me know who you are. But yeah, I'm looking for more players. I want to put more groups together because I don't want to lose the momentum that had built up. Just because the one group that I had been able to rely on regularly has not been able to play as often. On another note, one thing that is going well is Friday Night Crusades is back. What is Friday Night Crusades, you ask? Speaking of my Discord, uh, every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, we play Castles and Crusades from 8 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern in my Discord. This game is easily the most accessible game that you can possibly have online. You literally need to be able to keep track of a character sheet. You need to have some method of rolling dice. I don't care if they're digital. I've got some digital options. I don't care if it is, if your option is physical dice. I'm not here to watch over your shoulder and see if you're rolling dice appropriately. If you can't be there on time, that's fine. If you have to leave early, that's fine. If you have to, if you're going to be late and you have to leave early, that's fine. You can only play for an hour, 45 minutes, whatever the case may be. Great. We hand wave all that in. If you can't be here on any given week, you don't even need to tell me. I mean, I appreciate when people do. It's nice to have a general idea if people are going to be here or not. But if you show up and you have that character ready, you're going to go. And I've had in the past, I've had as many as 13 characters go in a session because this is what we do. So you're also invited if you want to get a feel for how I run a game. Though of course my Discord game is a little different than the stream games, but if you want to get a feel for how I run a game, you're more than welcome to listen in. Again, you just have to join the Discord. Go to rules, make sure that you're hitting the check mark. That'll open the rest of the server to you. And join us a Friday night, whenever you can. Listen in, and yeah, I mean we're looking always, like I said, we're looking for more players. I think this week we're going to probably, for Friday Night Crusades, we're probably going to be up to like 7 or 8 players. But it's pretty much every Friday, Jeff. The only time it doesn't happen is if I'm not going to be here for some reason. Or there are some holiday weekends where we realize that it's only going to be like 2 players or so. And we might just decide, like, sometimes the Friday after Thanksgiving, people go away, and it's one of those days where it's like, all right, we kind of accept that this is kind of like a holiday in and of itself. But for the most part, it's, every weekend as long as I'm here, or every Friday as long as I'm here. This session, we just restarted recently. We've missed one session because of the fact that, because I did the whole thing with going to see Ultra Magnus and playing that weekend. But otherwise, I'm not entirely sure when the next one we're going to have off is. It's probably going to be a while. Hey, listen, Jeff. in my Discord, in the FS, if you join the Discord, like I said, I'm actually, you might be in the Discord already if you're not. There is a channel that says FNC info. That'll have the rules for creating a character. Don't worry about the character. Pick whatever character class in the PHP that you want. There are a few in the Adventurous Backpack that I allow, but for the most part, do the PHP. The only one I'm not accepting from the PHP is the Assassin. That class just does not work for this type of game. Personally, I'm of the opinion that class doesn't really work well in general, but it really doesn't work well for this type of game. The two people that I've had that have tried it both spent most of their time complaining about it. So yeah, and don't worry don't worry about what the party has. We've had games where we had 3 clerics. It doesn't matter. We've had games where we've had no clerics. So it's, you know, we find ways around it. But yeah, create a character, and everybody's first level. Still first level. I think some of them are halfway to second level by now, but that's about it. All right. Once again, we do have the. Yep. We do have the giveaway still going. Exclamation point ticket to enter. I currently have 6 entries for it. $10 towards any digital product from the Troller Games website. And if you are the person who likes to do the PDF and print version at the same time, you can apply it to that purchase, which is nice because $10 is usually more than any of the individual PDFs by themselves are. Unless you're buying one of the source books. If you're buying any of the adventures, it's usually like $6.99 or something like that. So, Kern, exclamation point ticket for the entry, Kern. Did I say exclamation point raffle? If so, I apologize. I might have had the TLG Discord thing on the mind. Curtis. Yep. We just a little while ago we had the advertisement up for Saturday. I will see you Saturday. And then I'm running a game on Sunday. I'm trying to fill a couple of seats, but we got 4 people on Sunday morning. Summoner, you're already in. All right, I'm pretty sure that Jay is already streaming. We will be joining him in progress. No worries. Yes, he is. So everyone, please hang out. We are going to be raiding Lord Gazumba. I do have, and if somebody could please confirm for me, but I do have a raid emote. If you can all hang out, I'm going to go to a stream ending, and we will do the raffle, and then raid into Lord Gazumba. Go in there with a nice, nice good sized number of people. I appreciate that, Curtis. So for the giveaway, we are closing the giveaway now. And drawing a winner. Roger, Keith, good. Congratulations. I will get that to you. And let's get that raid set up for Lord Gazumba. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Keith, thank you for the resubscription. Summoner and Turnian and Crafted DM13, thank you so much for the follow. Troller Games, as always, thank you for the raid. It was good to see everyone. Thank you for the lively chat today. It's always nice to have people being active in the chat and discussing the topic at hand. I will see you next week, where we will be in the first week of June. Can you believe it? I cannot. But let's keep the things rolling as we head into summer. Raiding into Lord Zumba in 3, 2, 1. Bye now.